Greetings to my fellow NCOs. I'm going to talk today about the NCOER Bullet Catcher web app and show you some of the features. But before we get into that, let's talk about why you would want to use a service like this. How is this helpful to you? First of all, it's going to save you a lot of time. The bullets that it spits out are automatically formatted for action, impact, result, and they also fit into the EES two-line limitation, which, as you know, that's one of the biggest challenges with writing on NCOER is wordsmithing your bullets to fit into that limitation. But beyond that, it's important to note that this AI is trained on hundreds of live-fire tested bullets. In other words, these bullets have been through HR scrutiny, CSM scrutiny, and they were also utilized on NCOERs that resulted in selection for promotion. So this app will help you communicate in that way. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so if we look at the top here, you've got a menu, drop-down menu here that shows you the various modules of this web app. You've got a bullet generator, you've got your most recent results, an NCOER Builder, and a Fix My Shitty NCOER, which we'll hopefully talk about all of these today. Over here on the right, you've got a token count. You've got a history button, so you can see up to the last 50 bullet generations that you've done. And then over here is your account menu. If you open that up, you'll see a place to purchase tokens and some other options. And also you can send me an email if you have some requests, feature requests, or any issues. So let's go back here, and you can see under Bullet Generator, it's where we're going to start today. Under Bullet Generator, you have 4 options here: Performance, Character, Rater Comments, and Senior Rater Comments. We'll start with Performance Bullets. Okay, Performance Bullets. So basically, when you want to produce some options, some bullet options, you need to input some sort of action. In this case, I'm going with served as Unit Fire Marshal. And you need a result or impact here, and I'm just going to keep it simple. An evacuation plan was established. You can add numbers in here. This is optional. So 260 soldiers in the unit, and this person oversaw 4 buildings. VIP stakeholders, that's also optional. And in this case, we're just going to leave it blank. And let's just see what this produces. So it takes about 5 seconds to generate some bullets here, and it will give you 4 options. The first 2 are kind of standard. You know, they're based largely on, solely on what you input as the user. So let's look at this first one here. Served as Unit Fire Marshal for 4 buildings, establishing an evacuation plan for 260 soldiers to ensure safety. Okay, that's not bad. Served as is not my favorite action verb, but it works in this case. And you can see here it recommends achieves as the category it should go into. If we scroll down here and we look, the next bullet is it's recommending leads, and you can see it changes the action verb to managed. So that's good. That's a much stronger leads action verb. So managed fire safety protocols for 4 unit buildings, coordinating an evacuation plan for 260 soldiers and staff. So this is a pretty good bullet as well. And you'll notice it didn't mention anything about unit fire marshal. And I think that's okay, because if you're doing your NCOER correctly, you're putting that unit fire marshal position typically in the appointed duties category. And so this leads bullet supports that. You don't have to have that title in there. Anyways, you have 2 options there to choose from. The third option here is a creative option, and we've trained the AI to provide a bit more of a creative wording. So you have to be careful with this one. Sometimes it adds fluff words, which are never good on an NCOER. But typically this will produce something that's a little more unique. So spearheaded critical fire safety upgrades across 4 unit buildings, securing a robust evacuation plan for 260 soldiers. So in this case, robust might not be necessary. You don't want to come off as a fluffer. So be mindful of that if you're going to use the creative option. And the last one, it's going to recommend an inferred result. In other words, it ignores your input for the result or impact, and it kind of creates its own. And in this case, it's written, directed the comprehensive fire safety audit of 4-unit buildings, reducing risk exposure for 260 soldiers by 100%. Not bad, but it inferred 100%. I never told it 100%. So you got to be careful with that one as well. However, sometimes seeing a bullet like this might help you understand, like, hey, I need to add something. I need to add some metrics in here to help support this bullet a little more, make it stronger. So if you had those metrics, let's say it was by 50% or by 20%, whatever it might be, could be helpful. All right. If you look at these results and you're not happy with them, you get a chance to refine them down here. So let's say you want them to all be more leads, or you want to try Intellect or something like that. You need an Intellect bullet. You could tell this, hey, write this, make these sound more like Intellect bullets, and it will do its best to change them to Intellect bullets. If they're too long, you can tell it to shorten them. However, I will point out, you can see here I have the character count underneath all of these. And these are typically designed to be between 105 and 125 characters, which fit very nicely into the evaluation entry system. And again, as you know, that's one of the biggest challenges of writing an NCOER, is wordsmithing your bullets to fit right in there. So anyways, you get one chance to refine your bullets before you have to just generate new ones. So be mindful if you're going to use that feature. Okay, so if I wanted to use one of these, there's a couple ways to get them out of here. First and foremost, you can just select any one of these copy buttons. If I hit this one, it'll copy it, and then you can just paste it right into your EES form. Too easy, right? However, if you want to build an NCOER, you can very easily do that here. You can see we have an Add to Builder option, and I can put it in any category that I want. I would recommend going with the category that the app recommends. So in this case, if I wanted to add it to Achieves, I would just select that, and it would put it into the Achieves category in your NCOER Builder, which we're going to hop into next. It's right up here. So if I go into the NCOER Builder, I've already added a bunch of bullets here, so you can see what it looks like. However, this is kind of a neat tool because you can move bullets up and down. Say you're looking here at leads and you see one that's a little bit more strong than some of the others. You want that to be at the top, right? Always put that strongest bullet at the top, and you should think about this. So I can just hit that arrow, and now this one's at the top. If I want to change categories, let's say I don't, after reading it again, I don't think it belongs in leads. I think it might belong in Achieves. I can easily move it to Achieves, just like that. No problem. And of course, if you don't like the bullet at all, after reading it with fresh eyes, you can just delete it. Once you're done making a draft here, you can export it in these formats. So that makes it very easy to copy and paste into the EES system. So I think that's a great tool to kind of speed this up. Also important to note, you can create several different profiles. So you can be working on 4, 5, 6, 10 NCOERs at the same time. If you're a high-speed raider, you can just have a bunch going at the same time and build them slowly but surely over the year. Okay, so that is the NCOER Builder. Let's hop over back to our bullet generator, and let's move on to character bullets. Okay, character bullets. These are a little bit different than performance bullets in that they can be a little bit longer. There's more space in the EES system, and also including an Army value is typically a good thing to do with these character bullets. So the AI is trained in this particular module to try and include an Army value in the bullets that it generates, and they're also going to be a little bit longer. So I've pre-filled out this form here. It's very similar to the other form, the performance bullet form. The action in this case, I'm going to say this soldier shoveled snow from the driveway of elderly neighbors. It was 6 neighbors, and it took 10 hours. The result, impact, improved community trust, and it also helped the elderly. Now here I could optionally select the Army value that I want. However, in this case, I'm just going to let the AI infer it. And I'm not going to have any VIPs or stakeholders for this one. So let's see what it produces here. Okay, displayed selfless service by clearing snow for 6 elderly neighbors over 10 hours, fostering genuine community trust and helping residents. Hey, that's pretty good. 140 characters down here you can see. Should still fit, no problem. This starts with a different action verb, embodied the value of duty. That's pretty good. Let's see what the creative option is. Demonstrated integrity. So you've got lots of options here. Oh, here's a good verb, championed. Okay. So 4 good options here. I think all of them work pretty well. So that's the character module. Pretty straightforward. Only difference, it can be more characters, and it should include an Army value. Okay, moving on to Raider comments. In this category, we have more fields to fill out here, starting with the rank and last name. I pre-filled this to save some time here. Gender, male, we need to include this so that the AI knows how to refer to the soldier, whether it's he or she. You've got your rating. In this case, we're going to choose exceeded standard. And enumeration. Enumeration is very important. I've got a little enumeration guide here when it comes to Raider comments. Hard enumeration is when you use like a number 2 of 6 or number 1 of 5, whatever it might be. Percentage contextualizes relative to entire career history. In other words, it's saying that this staff sergeant is in the top 15% of staff sergeants that I've worked with in my X amount of years of service. And so down here we put the Raiders' years of service so that it can reference that as well. Moving on, this is one of my favorite parts, is selecting attributes. I recommend 2. And you can draw them from a list, which is kind of a neat feature, because sometimes when you're trying to think of attributes, it doesn't always come to you. And so having a list to kind of look at and choose from is helpful. In this case, let's say expertise, and what else could we say here? About mentorship. We choose those 2. If we had a custom one, we could type that in here. We'll just stick with those 2 for now. You can see you can X those out if you change your mind. Last thing here, overall accomplishments and roles. I recommend 1 at least. In this case, let's put reinforced value to the unit through diverse collateral duties. You can also look at some examples here. These are meant to inspire your own bullets, but it doesn't hurt to scroll through here and just see what might work well. In some cases, you can even copy and paste one out of here. Some of them are fairly generic, but I recommend making it as personal as possible. So with this information, let's see what it gives us. Okay, so enumeration starts with, always starts in the first bullet with enumeration, because that is important. And then you don't have to include enumeration, but I do recommend it because it not only helps the soldier know where they stand in your pool, but it also conveys a message to panel members that, hey, this is where I think this person stands in terms of his or her performance this year. So let's take a look at these. Staff Sergeant Snuffy is the number 2 of 6 staff sergeants I rate, and in the top 15% of staff sergeants I've worked with in my 16 years of service. He brings immense technical expertise to all assigned mission sets. So it included, the expertise that we listed as an attribute. Now, it's also important to note that these comments come in pairs. They complement each other. So the first one will always have enumeration, and the second one will kind of focus more on the attributes or the accomplishment that you had mentioned. The second one here, he is a dedicated mentor who prioritizes the growth of his subordinates. So right there, it hits on mentorship. He consistently reinforces his value to the unit through his performance in diverse collateral duties, and there's the accomplishment. So these two look pretty good to me. I would use these. It'll give you another option. This option, being based on the same information, you can read through that if you want to. These look pretty solid to me. Just uses some different language, and then of course a creative option. I always like to have this in there to give you a different type of option here. So this one looks pretty good as well. Profound technical expertise. So again, a fluff word. Maybe you want to use it, maybe you don't. It's not too over the top. Force multiplier is a great word. The Army loves that term. And here we go, inspiring mentor. That's kind of another good catchphrase. So anyways, you see what we've got here. All three of these would work pretty well. You can add them to the builder. You can copy and paste them right into EES if you want to. But that is pretty much the Raider overall comment section. Okay, on to Senior Raider comment. Again, more fields to fill out here. We'll stick with Staff Sergeant Snuffy. Same guy, male, highly qualified. And in this case, I'm going to say he's number 2 of 4 that I senior rate and top 15%. Now, I will point out, when you're doing this, you want to be in line with the Raider. You don't want to, if the Raider's saying top 5%, you don't want to say top 20%. That's a mixed message. You need to agree on what that percentage is going to be and have discussions about that. I do want to point out the enumeration guide here will tell you how enumeration is going to affect the output that you get. So the definitions are at the top here again, and by now you should know the difference between hard enumeration and percentage. If you select most qualified, and that's going to generate a promote now in the comment, send to school immediately, and it's going to reference superior potential. In this case, we're selecting highly qualified. This person we said is in the top 15%, so he's going to go in the second category here. It's going to produce promote ahead of peers, send to school now, and great potential. And you can see, just take a look at the rest of this, when you're perusing the app. It will kind of tell you how this is going to affect the output, depending on what you put in terms of the rating and the enumeration. That's going to affect it. But anyways, it's set up like this to be consistent. So I hope this helps you, generate an appropriate bullet, and obviously change it to what you feel is appropriate. But I've found that these work quite well. Okay, so we're going for number 2 out of 4, top 15%. The Senior Raider's years of service, we'll say 20. And again, we can select attributes and competencies again. And when you're doing it for the Senior Raider, as the Senior Raider, I should say, you want to choose things that, demonstrate potential as opposed to performance. So in this case, I think I'll go with, I'll say this person has a growth mindset. Let's see, are there any others in here? Like I said, I like to have 2. Growth mindset, and let's say leadership. And let's see what it produces. First and foremost, though, we need another general accomplishment, traits or roles that justify the potential. So 1 or 2 is totally fine. And by justify potential, what I'm saying here is, if you're saying this person is highly qualified and they're going to have great potential, you want to justify that with something. And so in this case, I'm going to say this person consistently outpaces his peers by mastering complex tasks. And we'll see what that outputs for us. The last thing here is, do you want to have a recommendation for NCO PDS? Typically, you should. And so in this case, we'll say yes. You can also say no or defer. But let's see what this produces. This will produce 3 results. Top 2 will be just kind of normal, and the third one will be the creative option again. So in this case, the top one, Staff Sergeant Snuffy, is my number 2 of 4 Staff Sergeants I senior rate, and in the top 15% of Staff Sergeants I have served with in my 20 years of service. He demonstrates great potential through his growth mindset and ability to consistently master complex tasks, promote ahead of peers, and send to SLC now. Okay, that's a pretty good bullet. So, experiment with that. Let's see what this creative option says here real quick. A true force multiplier. That's a great catchword. That draws attention. References great potential. In fact, all these should reference great potential. Yep, great potential, great potential. So this is great. Promote ahead of peers, all of them reference that. And so that's great. If I were to go back here and change this to an MQ and put number 1 of 4, and if you do that, you need to go with top 5% if you're doing a most qualified. Let's see what that produces. We'll keep everything else the same. And just to show you how it changes things. All right, so now we have number 1 of 4, top 5%. Growth mindset and leadership are invaluable to the team. Superior potential right there. Promote now, right? That's important. That's a very important message. And send to SLC immediately. Okay, so that's the difference. When you choose between like HQ and a kind of median or middle enumeration, you're going to get promote ahead of peers. If you choose most qualified and high enumeration, then they're going to get promote now, send to SLC immediately, superior potential. So consistent communication, I think that's key. Okay, some bonus features here. If we go back to our performance bullet section, since this is a bulk of the NCOER, technically you need 17 bullets if you include character bullets. But let's say you need 15 performance bullets. It's great to have this batch process form. So you can fill this form out manually. You can save the profile, which is great. So if you're working with somebody on quarterly counselings and you just want to go ahead and start putting basic information in, you can save a profile and just keep adding accomplishments until you have 15 or so. So that's one way to do this. And then you just hit process batch and it will do the same thing. It'll put out 4 bullet options for each one. So if you have 15 in here, it might take a minute or more to process it, but it'll spit them all out at the same time and you could just literally build an NCOER just like that. Super easy. The other way to do it is you can download a blank PDF, which you can then have the soldier fill out throughout the year or fill out during their quarterly counselings. And it looks like this. And once you have that filled out, again, metrics and VIPs are not required, just a performance and a result impact. Once you have that all filled out, you can just upload it here, the top right, in the batch process window, upload it. And again, it'll just fill all this stuff out for you automatically, and then kick out 15 times 4 options. So anyways, that's a kind of a neat feature to streamline the process if you don't want to have to do each bullet individually. Another feature here we have is called Fix My Shitty NCOER. I'm sure many of us have received a shitty NCOER or written a few. And so if you've written one and you think it's not so great, this is a good place to just have the bullet generator kick out some new ideas for you to kind of choose from, to clean it up a little bit, to make the communication more consistent. And so I will just say, this app doesn't store anything you upload. It just analyzes it. However, you're in the Army, you know better than to upload personal information to a website. So once you select this button and you've redacted any personal information, I would just omit the first page altogether and then redact anything personal on the second page. Then upload it. It will analyze the bullets. It'll spit out all the bullets individually, and you can tell it which ones you want it to fix, or you can do them all at the same time. I'll have to do another video on this one at some point. But it's a pretty cool feature. And again, if you're an NCO who has received kind of a not so great NCOER and you want to help your raider get it to the point that you want it to be at, you want to advocate for yourself, this might be a good option. Okay, I think that is it in terms of features. if you need more tokens, you can always go here and purchase some. And if you want to leave me some feedback, go into your account page, go down here, send me an email. I'd love to hear your ideas, your feedback. Other than that, I think that's it. And I wish you the best of luck. I hope you find this tool to be very useful, and I hope it improves your overall Army writing. I hope you learn from it, and I hope your NCOs benefit from this. I appreciate your time.